They almost look like plastic toys, but experts insist so-called ghost guns can be very lethal.
More than 24 states are still working to block the release of 3D printed gun blueprints.
There's a lot of talk about 3D gun blueprints. Before a federal judge temporarily blocked its distribution, we got a chance to speak with Cody Wilson, founder of Defense Distributed, and the man trying to legalize distribution of 3D gun blueprints online. Here are 5 things you need to know. 1. It's possible to 3D print a working gun in 24 hours. Wilson created the first working 3D printed gun called the Liberator. And how accessible are these parts and pieces to the average consumer?
The answer is yes to all the above. So printed pistols, of course, come in printable materials. And right now, for the most part, those are plastics. ABS was the plastic that we used for the Liberator.
ABS plastic is affordable and accessible in various retail stores like Walmart.
We made a gun that we designed for the most amount of people with the most common types of 3D printing.
These are the parts of that gun. Everything is made out of plastic except for the bullet and one metal screw. The screw is non-functional. It's in there so the gun can be detected by a metal detector in compliance with the Undetectable Firearms Act. 2. It's cheaper to buy a gun than to print one. In some parts of the country, you can get a gun for as little as $100, while a 3D printer costs a few thousand. Wilson used an expensive commercial printer to create the Liberator, but there are others who have tweaked his design and created a gun using a printer that costs a little over $1,700. It's worth mentioning that 3D printers are accessible. They're in schools, libraries, and available for rent. 3. The distribution for 3D gun blueprints have been temporarily blocked by a federal judge, but that Liberator gun file has already been downloaded over 100,000 times in 2 days when it was first uploaded 5 years ago. This isn't the first time Wilson's website DefCAD has been shut down. A few days before the free site was set to launch again this August, 3D blueprints of the AR-15 has been downloaded 1,000 times.
There are a few types of guns that can be made on 3D printers now, although none of them are, reliable or of any type of substantial commercial quality that you might expect in a real gun.
4. The concern isn't about plastic guns. You can also mill metal parts as well, and it's untraceable. Ghost guns, or guns created for personal use, don't have to be registered. Wilson's main business is a desktop-sized milling machine that creates metal gun parts, which costs about $2,000.
Where you might build, let's say, a 3D printable pistol within 24 hours. On a milling machine, this might only take you a couple of hours on a couple different components, and then the rest of the stuff is commercial off the shelf. So there's lots of different ways to do it.
5. Why is Wilson fighting hard to share 3D gun blueprints? He says he believes in free speech and freedom of information. A Seattle federal judge issued a temporary restraining order to block the release of 3D gun blueprints. He said, there is a possibility of irreparable harm because of the way these guns can be made. Freedom of speech can be limited if it causes danger or harm. Do you think the same thing applies with the freedom of information when it comes to your gun schematics?
The information related to building guns is in itself inherently dangerous in a form of imminent harm or violence or something. This is an unworkable way of approaching manufacturing or industry, or obviously unworkable in capitalism. And as we all know, if it doesn't serve capitalism, it won't serve anybody else. So it's just not reasonable to claim that information in itself is harmful.
For now, 3D blueprint downloads will be unavailable until a court hearing September.